Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today I've got for you a Game Week 29 wildcard team, which I think is going to be useful for those of you guys not on a wildcard as well, as it's really going to help you give an idea of what kind of players we should be targeting in the upcoming game weeks, because we are also going to talk about the free hit Game Week 32 strategy and also about some of the transfers some of you guys might be thinking about making in the upcoming game week. So we're really talking about planning ahead, not just wildcards in this video. So if you do enjoy this one, please do drop a like, please do subscribe if you're new around here, but without further ado, let's get on with the video. Alright guys, so for this Game Week 29 wildcard team, this is the part of the video where we're going to talk about the kind of wildcard slash team template that you want to go for right now if you are planning on free hitting in Game Week 32. The team value for this team is 101 million. I think most of us guys are going to be on at least that. Maybe some of us slightly below that, but that's fine too. I will talk about some other options in this video as well. But let's start off in goal with David De Gea. So I have gone David De Gea for this team. Some people are going to say, oh, I prefer Luke Shaw. Some people will prefer De Gea. That's going to be kind of up to you who you want to go for, but I definitely do feel like we need to be going for a Manchester United defender, not just because Newcastle and Brentford is a really nice kind of double game week for those defensive players, but also the upcoming fixtures, Everton and Nottingham Forest. It does look like these are kind of the fixtures that you'd hope to get some clean sheets out of. And yes, we have got a blank in Game Week 32 there, as you can see on the screen. The fourth fixture for this Manchester United player and all of the Manchester United players in this video is going to be a blank, but again, we don't need to worry about that too much if we are free hitting in Game Week 32, so we really can't afford to overcommit on those Manchester United players. Triple up Manchester United just to make sure that we do have players ready for the double now and also players ready for the doubles in Game Week 34 and 37. There's going to be two double game weeks for Manchester United, probably. We already know about the 32 one. But anyway, let's move on into defence. We've got Kieran Trippier. Now, we have just got one Newcastle player at the moment. Now, previously, I probably would have said let's go for a couple of Newcastle players in a wildcard team, or, you know, in your team in general, we need to be going for at least two, maybe even three Newcastle players. And that's because I thought there was going to be a double game week for Newcastle coming up very soon. That's looking less and less likely. And I think that Newcastle double game week with Brighton is going to be pushed back a little bit further on to probably game week 35, 36 now. So we're going to get a lot of double game weeks for Brighton all in a row. But we're talking about Newcastle right now. But I still would go for Kieran Trippier, to have him now ready for later and to have him for now as well. Even though the fixtures aren't amazing beyond the double game week, we do know that Trippier does have that insane creative ability, and he is a player that is playing for a defence that, although they might not be keeping clean sheets right now, it does kind of feel like they've been a little bit unlucky recently, and maybe that fortune can turn around and they can start getting those clean sheets. Chilwell up next. I think he is a very good pick for the double game week. Aston Villa and Liverpool at home, and Chilwell has actually been one of the biggest threats for Chelsea in terms of the attacking threat at the moment, which is really good. We've got Wolves up next as well. Good chance for a clean sheet. Chelsea are due a double game week still, so we're going to see a double game week for Chelsea upcoming, and at the same time, we don't need to worry too much about game week 32. So another player who blanks in 32. You're going to see a lot of those kind of players because, in general, if you are trying to build a team right now, and you are going to free hit in Game Week 32, because of all the players who are blanking in 32 are the same players with future doubles, we actually do want to go for those players. So even if they blank, that makes you want them more in many ways if you're free hitting in 32. But again, we're going to talk about some other ways of navigating this if you don't have that free hit, which is absolutely fine. Pervis Estupiñán is our final defender. So Brentford and Bournemouth, I particularly like that Bournemouth fixture for a clean sheet, but I do like that Brentford fixture a little bit as well. To be fair, Brighton don't have the most amazing fixtures after that. So if you aren't going for too many Brighton players, I think that's going to be okay. But at the same time, I really would want Brighton players, one, for this double game week, and two, for everything beyond game week kind of 32. Because in game week 33, Brighton do actually play Nottingham Forest, so you are going to want to have those Brighton players, and then they'll have double game week in 34, and another double game week in 35 or 36, and then another double game week in 37. It's going to be double game week heaven for Brighton, so you do need to make sure you have them at one point or another. If you're on a wild card right now, I would just get them now. If you are just using your transfers, I would still just get them now, and you can always bench them for game week 30 and 31 in those more difficult fixtures against Spurs and Chelsea. You're going to see on the bench some nice players that are able to cover these guys, so it's not really going to be too much of a problem. Moving on into midfield, we've got Bruno Fernandes. I think, again, Manchester United players, you know, going to have those double game weeks. We've got really good fixtures over the next three. Really nice. And I do imagine that Bruno Fernandes, he hasn't quite hit his underlying numbers this season, but we know that he has taken a lot of shots. He is a creative force in that Manchester United team, and also he is on penalty. So there's a lot of advantages for going for Fernandes right now, and I would make him one of the primary transfer targets for this game week. I'm planning the buy, sell, keep, avoid video already, and I think Fernandes is probably the #1 player on my buy kind of section. So definitely a player that I want to be invested in, whether you're wildcarding or not. He's definitely a player that I'd want to have right now. We've got Maddison next, a really good player for the double game week, and again a nice fixture in game week 30 as well. So for the next 2 game weeks, Maddison's really, really nice. So if you've already got him, you know, I would keep him for just a couple more game weeks, and then after game week 31, where he plays Manchester City, I think that might be a time where you could potentially afford to kind of lose him. But Maddison's doing well at the moment. He's on a lot of set pieces, and he is creating an insane amount for his teammates. So he's going to get those assist points for you, which is very, very nice indeed. Next up, we've got Rashford. I know we're not 100% sure on the fitness of Rashford. I personally think he's going to be fine, but look, keep an eye on this one. That's all I'm going to say on that one. But Rashford is going to be a prime captaincy kind of option for game week 29, and potentially even for future game weeks as well. Everton and Nottingham Forest in the following game weeks is, you know, that's really, really nice fixtures. So definitely Rashford is a player that we all know is very good. If you already have him, you'll probably want to keep him because you might have a lot of value tied up in him as well. And it might be difficult to get him back in if you do sell him. So Rashford, I do think I would stick with him. You know, even if he is injured, maybe we can afford to bench him. I don't know. Depends if you're bench boosting, I suppose, doesn't it? Next up, McAllister. So McAllister, yeah, again, another great Brighton player. McAllister is probably going to be the most popular kind of midfielder to bring in at the moment. I don't know if he actually will be, but certainly among top FPL managers, I think McAllister seems to be the current favourite among top managers, which is really good to see, actually. He's playing in that advanced position. He is going to continue in that advanced position. I know we've seen him playing in different positions in the Cup. It's not going to happen in the Premier League. Don't worry about that too much. It is due to the rotation that they do in the Cup. But Brighton do seem to be really, really focused on the league at the moment. And certainly McAllister is playing really well in that advanced position, nominated for Player of the Month as well, whilst playing in the attacking midfield position. So yeah, looking really, really good in that kind of those areas where he's taking so many shots, creating for his teammates. Really, really like this pick a lot. I think he's going to be arguably an essential player. He's got to be getting close to essential at this point, hasn't he? Solly March up next, so he's going to complete our midfield here. So yeah, same fixtures again for Brighton. We don't love the fixtures for game week 30 and 31. 32 we're covered with a free hit, but again, we do really want these players for this double game week now and for game week 33 onwards. 33 Nottingham Forest, 34 double, 34/35, 35/36, sorry. It's going to be a double again. 37, it's going to be another double potentially there. It's going to be, honestly, it's going to be crazy. Those Brighton players are just so essential right now. They really are. So that is going to be our triple up. March, just because he has got the best underlying numbers. I really like the look of March at the moment. So if you do prefer to go for a Mitoma, Kaoru Mitoma, I think that's absolutely fine as well. But these are the guys that I would go for personally. Then moving up front, we've got Harry Kane. So we have got a single game week player in here, but it is Kane, to be fair. So yeah, maybe we'll let him off. But yeah, Everton, really, really nice fixture for him there. We've got Brighton after that. Bournemouth at home, which is really nice. Potential captain option for that Bournemouth game as well. And Newcastle away, which is where the fixtures do get a little bit trickier for Harry Kane, to be fair. But that's absolutely fine. And we've got Watkins here as well. A bit of a favourite here on the channel at the moment. Yeah, he's doing really well at the moment. Only an assist last game week, but before that, it's just goals galore, isn't it? Chelsea and Leicester, not the best double game week, but it's not too bad. And then the Nottingham Forest game at home after that is going to be really nice. And then beyond that, we could be looking at selling Ollie Watkins. Right, let's bring up the bench, guys. We've got Iverson here, first of all, because we don't really need a backup goalkeeper. The only time you would need to sub out De Gea would be in game week 32/33. He hasn't got a great fixture in 33, but in 32, certainly. We're going to be free hitting them out anyway, so we don't really need a backup goalkeeper, so you may as well go for the cheapest one, 3.8 million Iverson. Plus, Iverson is actually getting some game time at the moment as well. So, hey, maybe he actually could be a really decent goalkeeper to have in general anyway. We've got Erling Haaland on the bench here. I know that's not going to sit perfectly with everyone. Some people will probably say, you know, I would still like to play Haaland in this game week, and that's absolutely fine. If that's something you'd like to do, that's totally okay. I think certainly now, if I was on a wild card, I would have Haaland on the bench. If I wasn't bench boosting anyway, but maybe even if I was bench boosting, I'd still want Haaland on the bench. Last game week obviously was a good opportunity to sell him, but Going forward, I would not be selling him at this point, certainly. I would want him in my team. We've got Tyrone Mings here on the bench, decent cover. And we've got Emerson as well. Emerson is interesting because he's got a double game week coming up after game week 29. So there's going to be another opportunity for a double game week for those West Ham players. And Emerson, only 4 million. He's not quite nailed on at that left-back position for West Ham, but he's playing most games. He is playing most games, to be fair, like 90% of games. And West Ham aren't exactly the worst defence in the league either. So if they get some of those better fixtures, which they do, even this game week is pretty decent fixtures, I think he could actually score some, I don't know, fairly reasonable FPL points. Like, you know, West Ham are kind of sitting mid-table, slightly above mid-table in terms of those defensive numbers at the moment. So I don't think West Ham are such a bad defence, even though they haven't been getting the results recently. But certainly a player I'd be looking to own during West Ham's double game week. If he's that cheap anyway, you may as well. There's no real harm in doing it. And finally, guys, I'm going to suggest some transfer moves for the future. Not necessarily in this order, but I'd certainly like at some point, and maybe game week 31 is not the time to do this. I put that on screen for our benefit right now. But maybe these kind of moves, you could maybe make them in game week 34 instead. That might work as well. And that's Kane and Maddison to Darwin and Salah. If you can afford to do that, I would probably prefer to do it in game week 34 to be fair, but I couldn't fit everything in screen. I didn't want to go too far in the future, but that's certainly a kind of a combination of transfers I would be looking to make at somewhere down the line, and maybe just holding off on that one. But, you know, Maddison is a player you'd be thinking about removing in game week 31. You have to use all of your transfers. You can't bank transfers through a free hit, so you are going to have to use 2 transfers in game week 30 and 31 at some point or another there. So, yeah, so I've put it on there for that benefit. But, yeah, with a wildcard team, it could be Maddison out for someone else. Maybe you take a risk on a Man City player, Foden or Mahrez potentially there. There's going to be different options available to you. But, yeah, Maddison out in 31 when he plays against Man City does seem like the move that I would be going for. But, yeah, I would be looking to get Salah and probably Darwin Nunez ready for their double game week in game week 34 as well. So, just be aware of that one. Liverpool, big double game week, decent double game week for them as well. So, yeah, that is something that we all want to be looking forward to be fair. So, yeah, there you go, guys. We're going to slap the captain's armband on Rashford. I'm going to put the vice-captain on Solly March. These are kind of my 2 favourite players, assuming Rashford is fit and available, of course. These, I think, are my 2 favourite players for the game week, really. McAllister, obviously, there for a shout as well. Some people will prefer Fernandes and Maddison. That's absolutely fine as well. But these are my favourites. Those midfielders, these 5 midfielders in particular, really like these guys. And I think they're going to score very, very well in game week 29. But, of course, I do need to show you a slight variation of this team where we are not free hitting in game week 32, where we have a team that is just free to just work for the rest of the season pretty much. Okay, guys, so in terms of the starting 11, there's only 2 changes. So Mings has come on from the bench and is now starting there, you can see. Chelsea and Leicester, pretty decent double game week, so that's absolutely fine there. And we've also downgraded Fernandes to Saka. So I think, particularly if we're not bench boosting in 29, we do have the benefit of going for some more single game week players and not worrying about it so much. And Saka has just been so good for Arsenal recently. It's difficult, even, you know, when we're talking about the ideal team, it is difficult to suggest a team without Arsenal players. But the fact is, Arsenal don't have double game weeks. They have Liverpool and West Ham, which are 2 tough fixtures. And their next good fixture after that is Southampton, where a lot of us are going to be free hitting anyway. But if you're not free hitting, we do need to make sure we have a little bit going on in Arsenal. But in general, I don't think we need a triple up on Arsenal until really the back end of the season, which is another reason I would like to have triple Brighton now, so we can use our transfers later on in the kind of season to get those Arsenal players where they have a really nice few game weeks at the end where they're going to be really pushing for that Premier League title. So yeah, those are the 2 changes for this wildcard team. And basically these 2 changes just kind of allow you to have a full starting 11 for game week 32 without having to need a free hit. So let me show you the bench here, guys, of course, as well. We've also got Zinchenko who comes in instead of Chilwell. So Chilwell is benched and then replaced with Zinchenko, another Arsenal player there. So we have got at least a couple of Arsenal players. So that'll be really nice to have those players. You know, if you're not free hitting in game week 32, you are going to want to have those Arsenal players. So we've got them there ready to go. I also kind of like the fact that we've got you know, Emerson and Zinchenko can maybe come in some of those more difficult fixtures. It's kind of up to you in many ways, but Purvis Estupiñán, We know that he doesn't have great fixtures against Spurs and Chelsea, so you are maybe going to be relying on that bench a little bit. I think Tyrone Mings in the free hit 32 kind of team is a really nice bit of cover for Pervis Estupinian in game week 30. So that's an example there. Zinchenko is probably going to come in for this particular team for game week 30 when Estupinian plays Tottenham. Zinchenko is going to come in and play Liverpool. I think maybe that's slightly better. Or you can maybe go for the West Ham man Emerson there as well. That's kind of a couple of options there. And of course, we've got some suggested transfers, which are very important if you are not going to be using a free hit in 32, because we do need to be making sure that we do have a bit of cover for 32. And I do think it's difficult here. So I've got here McAllister out and Andreas in, which I do think helps with the fact that Andreas has double game week in 34. Not really expecting too much for him, but look, it gives you an option as well. And doing that downgrade maybe allows you to afford Kane and Rashford to Ings and Salah. So you can maybe do something like that in game week 32. So Rashford, of course, doesn't have a game week 32 fixture, so it makes it a little bit easier to sell him. I know it doesn't, it's not amazing that we have to sell Salah, but it's either that or sell the Brighton players, and I really would prefer to keep the Brighton players. So finally, you'll see game week 33 suggested transfer is just to get that third Brighton player back. So in this scenario, we've sold McAllister as an example. Look, I know this is just very rough on the suggested transfers because really, we're never really going to know until we get there, but just to give ourselves some general ideas, if you have sold one of your Brighton players in preparation for game week 32 and the blank, then we are going to want to make sure we are bringing them back in to get that triple Brighton for 33. Not for 34, for 33, because 33 is where Brighton play Nottingham Forest. We want them for that fixture, and then we also want them for 34, 35, 36, 37. So yeah, going to be really, really important that you are using your transfers effectively to make sure you are doing that. So there you go, guys. That is the wildcard team with no chips. Again, even if you're not on a wildcard, I would still say this is the kind of team and the kind of rough transfer moves that I would be thinking about making if I wasn't kind of thinking of free hitting in 32. A lot of people don't have their free hit, which is absolutely fine. And I think these kind of moves, these kind of tactics are really going to help you out there. So there we go, guys. Let me know what you think about these two teams. Is there any changes you'd make? Is there any players that you feel like I've really missed out and haven't spoken about in these videos that you think are absolutely essential for anyone, whether on a wildcard or not, they need to be going into your teams? Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like, it would be really appreciated. Please do subscribe as well if you are new around here. We've got plenty more videos, hopefully going back to some slightly more regular, normal content as we approach the Game Week 29 deadline. It's a big double game week, so I'm sure it's an exciting one for many of you guys. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.